According to Jay Diaz, who is the manager of WBC World Heavyweight Champion Deontay Wilder, he says that Team Wilder are very interested in a unification showdown with newly crowned WBO World Heavyweight Champion Joseph Parker this year. Although it would depend on how Wilder comes through his next fight, as long as he don't pick up any injuries, etc. I'm going to quote Jay Diaz directly here. He says, "It depends how February 25th goes against Andre Wawczyk. If Deontay does not get any wear and tear or injuries, we would rather fight in the middle of the year. And if a Parker fight in the middle of the year is available, we would love that opportunity. Parker's a competitor. He is young, fast and strong. He has plenty going for him. The guys working with him have done a tremendous job. Parker is a very good fighter, and I think Wilder beats anybody in the heavyweight division. But of course, I'm supposed to think that. Like I'm sure Parker's people think he can beat anybody, and that is why we need to get them in the ring. It's really not good when the average person does not know who the heavyweight champion of the world is. That is not good for the sport. There should be one recognized champion. For the overall good of the sport, that is the best thing to do." So those are the words of Jay Diaz, the manager of WBC Heavyweight World Champion Deontay Wilder. This is not the first time that Team Wilder has spoken about unifications. They seem very interested in unifications above all else. They don't really seem that keen on fighting a lot of the top contenders, but when it comes to unification clashes with the likes of Anthony Joshua and, in this case, Joseph Parker, they seem to be all over it. Those are high risk but high reward fights, whereas taking on top contenders, it's high risk with very little reward, at least in terms of, well, not only in terms of finances, but also in terms of recognition from the fans. You beat a top contender, okay, cool, but you've still only got one belt. Whereas if you're somebody that has managed to consolidate a couple of the belts, or maybe all the belts, you get a certain level of respect from fans because they say, well, he does have all the belts. So, and on top of that, when you have all the belts, you're then obligated to defend those belts against the mandatories for all those organizations. And if you're in that position, inevitably, you're going to be fighting tough fights. There's just no getting around it unless you want to relinquish or get stripped. So if a fight between Deontay Wilder and Joseph Parker did take place this year, how do you guys see it going? How do you see it playing out? There's still a lot of people out there who don't really rate Joseph Parker, who don't see what all the fuss is about. I personally think Joseph Parker is a very good fighter. As I say, there's a lot of people out there who are just not convinced by him. But at the same time, there are a lot of people who feel that way about Deontay Wilder. So shouldn't this be a even matchup if you're coming from that particular perspective? How do you think it would go? The 6'7" Wilder with a big right hand against the 6'4" Joseph Parker with the much shorter reach, but probably the faster hands, the better technique. You know, how do you think it would go? Wilder, most people would say, is the bigger puncher of the two. He's more experienced at this stage, but is Parker, from a technique perspective and from a talent perspective, good enough to negate Deontay Wilder's experience? Drop it all in the comment section below. Let me know how you feel. And I've mentioned this previously, and we do all have to keep an eye on this, but Deontay Wilder's hand injury, which is a reoccurring hand injury, has to be a great cause for concern for Team Wilder, because his right hand is his main weapon. That's his bread and butter. If you take that away from him, he is a very, very vulnerable heavyweight. Some people see him as vulnerable now, or if you take away his best weapon, then he is crazy vulnerable. So that right hand is absolutely crucial. I know he's been working on his left hand. I've seen him in training recently working on that left. He's going to need to develop it a hell of a lot to compensate for his right hand possibly not being the same for the remainder of his career. So we'll see what happens. Let me know what you think about this potential fight, people. Drop it all in the comment section below. And also let me know what you think about Wilder constantly calling out the other champions for unifications, but not seeming so keen on taking on the top contenders. Although you could say that the other champions in Anthony Joshua and Joseph Parker have been kind of doing the same thing. They've been calling for unifications, but have they really been calling for the top contenders? Maybe it's unfair to expect them to be calling for the top contenders, and perfectly understandable that they'd be calling for unifications. It's not as if the unification fights are easy. It's not as if the unification fights are not dangerous. They are, at least in my point of view, from my point of view. So yeah, let me know how you feel. Drop it all in the comment section below. It's your boy Hatman. I'm out.